If you're like me, and you got no life and there's nowhere to go, then tune in to the Animation Truman Show. You'll be glad you did.
And there it is, the Animation Truman Show. Jingle. And what are we doing today? I would say two things. There's a scene that I'm working on for episode 4. The script for episode 4 is coming together nicely. And then we may revisit the musical score for episode 3. So, with that, hopefully some people will show up and watch today and maybe participate or chit-chat a bit. But let's just get right to it. So I think the other day, I kind of made some adjustments to this character, whose name is Lechbar. And he gives Asher a bit of a push. Boom. Okay. So I don't really like this part because we're not getting the action with his hand that really belongs in there. So we're not going in Blender here. We're not going for finished art. Really, we're just trying to get the storytelling blocked in. So I'm gonna rotate that. Push that back a little bit, maybe shrink it slightly, and then maybe we could delineate the guy's fingers a bit more on that frame. Okay, so that's a push, and then here I'm thinking, well, I should have left that selected. I'm thinking this is going to be also slightly bigger. Okay. Hop out of edit mode. Okay, I don't like that either. What's happening here? It's interesting actually to notice that I'm not thinking about this guy's face at all. My attention seems to be totally on Asher and the dynamics. Yeah. Basically, let me think about this for a minute. I'm thinking push, and then see, this is too subtle. This is like way too subtle actually. Whoops. What's going on? Active layer is locked or hidden. How did I how did I lock it? I don't remember locking it. Okay, so let's go ahead and give myself one more frame like this. These lines that are connecting, that's just an artifact of editing. It doesn't matter. What matters is I can tell what the story is that I'm trying to tell. I want to see that hand give Asher an aggressive, kind of unfriendly push. Okay, so that's interesting. Not bad. This kind of works if Lechbar has a line of dialogue that begins right there. So he'd be like, there you go, mama, right? He'd be saying something to Asher. So I need to look at the script. Hey, by the way, we've got a couple concurrent viewers. Who the heck is here today? Identify yourself. It always, it's more fun when people participate. Otherwise, why live stream, I guess? It's not like we've got millions of viewers. Okay, so I'm going to go to, on my other screen, I'm just going to my screenplay. So give me 8 seconds to get there. And I'm going to episode 4. Okay, we're with Asher. Yeah, okay. So yeah, it's what happens. He says, okay, so we will ignore the fact that his face changes here. Well, I mean, okay, actually, let's clean this out and then fix it. So we've got to clean out 3 frames. All right, so let's go into edit mode. Well, no. Let's just do it in draw mode. Again. That is so weird. I don't know what I did that just locked that layer. I just don't remember what that's weird. But no big tragedy, friends. So what we'll do is we'll erase this guy's face and probably his chin as well. Okay, my sense is that, so we got this guy, and my sense is that there would be a little bit of a recoil from him as well. So, and golly, isn't this really what part of the challenge of animation is, especially if you look back in history? When people were working on paper, and you had to be able to visualize in your mind at a microscopic pace what this is going to feel like when it plays back at real speed, I should say, I won't get into it, but parenthetically, having done some experiments recently with 24 frame per second animation, it's really become clear to me that I have absolutely no interest whatsoever in 24 frame per second animation. I think even when it's done well, it doesn't feel better. 12 at the most, and honestly, what I've been doing with this show, which is I'm trying to get better at getting the most entertainment value out of 8 frames per second. Obviously, I'm not the first guy to do that, because I just described the entire anime industry. But to me, that's just like way more fun. Just saying. Okay, so what I'm going to do is get rid of his chin here. And then let's just say, let's do it this way. We'll go into edit mode. And we will select Nasio Lekbar's face. Okay? Control C. Actually, I need to grab his chin as well. I forgot about that. So let's grab that. Okay, this is not supposed to be finished art or anything. This is just so that I can see what I'm doing. Okay. Now, I'm going to say the safest option at the moment is probably going to be to just paste this in and then edit from there. Okay, so let's go back into draw mode so I can kind of see better what I'm doing. Okay, so I will say for step one, let's allow Lekbar's attitude to evolve a bit. Okay. Okay, right there, we would see a little bit of a recoil. So let me zoom out a bit and go into edit mode. What we want to do, and again, we have to sort of ignore the hand there. Is this going to be one of those days? I'm really weirded out by the fact that something keeps happening to lock my layer every time I go. I think it's when I go in and out of edit mode. I'm not really sure. If anybody's noticing anything on the screen that I'm missing, let me know, because for some reason I'm trying to stay in the creative zone here. I'm thinking about pictures, and stories. But yet I'm moving along here, and all of a sudden every time I'm switching in and out of edit mode or something, all of a sudden this layer is locked. And I kid you not, I do not. And as you guys know, if you've been with me for a while, this happens pretty often on this channel. I've never seen that happen before. Kind of weird. Okay, so now this is going to be all, well, actually, this maybe could be used as it is. Okay, that just deselected. Oh, my mistake. I had control selected on my stylus. Okay, so I have been using here the I've been using the onion skins, and in this scenario they do kind of help. So let me see if this feels right. Okay, so basically what does he say? He says, "Get it moving, traitor." I like it. I like it. Cool. Let's turn the skins off. And in half a second, I'll check the chat and see if there's any questions coming up or something. Nope, everybody's quiet. In fact, nobody's watching. Hey, that's okay. My opinion is that if somebody's doing a YouTube channel, unlike, I won't name a channel, but there are channels out there that are devoted ostensibly to training people to animate. And, there's probably some good information there. But of course, it's information being provided by someone who, I'm thinking of a specific channel. Again, I don't want to name them. Where the person doing the instructing, charging you to join their academy, as it were, and learn to animate like a real animator, is in fact a failed animator who's never created anything other than storyboards. And is teaching a mode of animation that's absolutely anchored in the distant past and really doesn't have much of a place in the present. On this channel, on the other hand, what you get is the actual production of a real cartoon that's actually being distributed around the world. This is what the real work looks like. Now, I can't say that means it's what it looks like in, a large studio or something, because obviously I am a kind of a one-man production. But I have nothing to sell you. I'm just giving you the real story as it happens. These are the problems that you have when you're trying to work out a story. You've got writing problems, you've got music problems, you've got characterization problems, and you just have to solve them by trying stuff. Okay, so this feels pretty good. It's a good example of a bit of animation that probably would feel pretty good at 10 or 12 frames per second. Let's just see. Yeah, the sweet spot's probably 10. But it doesn't matter. I can do it at 8, and then what'll happen is when I put it in the show later, I can always time shift it a bit. Okay, so once this happens, question, do we need a breather? Here's the logic. The logic is, in other words, do we need a breather for the audience to digest this action before he starts talking? And my answer is maybe. So let's give him a breather, because obviously, in practical terms, we always could go back and delete these frames and move it closer anyway. So there's no compelling reason to give ourselves options if we can. I should say, I didn't finish my sentence. Erase what I just said and restate it as, it's good to give yourself options if you can. Okay, so here what we're going to do is I'm going to turn on additive drawing. All that does is when I start drawing, it doesn't erase and create a blank frame for me. Okay, because all I'm doing here is lip sync. And I'm just doing anime style lip sync, which I always do on this show, which means you basically have small, large, small. I may actually be making the algorithm backwards. Almost closed. And once we get into dialogue in an 8 frame per second cartoon, you tend to stop moving everything else, because everything else moving sort of distracts from the storytelling. Yeah, that's perfect. I would say this could stand to be closer, and it might be interesting. Well, if I was going to change something about the positioning of his hand, I'd have to do it in every frame here. So instead, let's change the positioning here, just in this one frame. So what I'm going to do is grab this. I'm going to scale it up slightly. So I'm hitting shift so that the scaling is, I can move my mouse a lot, but the change is not that great. So I'm going to move this just a little bit towards him, so there's just a shift in direction into the dialogue. Yep, that's beautiful. That little tiny change from here to here feels really good when it plays back. It just gives it a little bit more life. Okay, so there is one problem. I'm thinking about the other soldier in the background. Okay, so his line is, "Get it moving, traitor. Get moving." Okay, let me do that. "Get it moving, traitor." Okay, there may not be quite enough lip sync there, so let's do that. "Get it moving, traitor." Perfect. The reason we do lip sync the way I do it here, there are no phonemes. There's just open mouth, more open mouth, and almost closed mouth. And the reason for that is that the show does get translated into different languages. So whatever the people are saying needs to work as lip sync, no matter what language is being used. That's been the age-old methodology of the anime industry, and let's face it, folks, it works. Anything going on in the chat? Nothing. Nothing. I do find it fascinating, and I'm not going to complain about it, that maybe you could blame it on me, but it's interesting to me that it's very interesting to me that what I'm doing here is precisely what no one actually wants to watch. If I was blathering endlessly about AI, which I'm big on AI, it's quite a useful tool. If I was blabbing about that, maybe, whatever's hypey today, whatever's the hypey thing at the time, maybe the thing people want to hear about. Whereas when you do the mundane, it's like, would you like to sit here and watch a video of an actuary examining spreadsheets, to project, a cost-benefit analysis on a corporate insurance policy? That would be probably kind of boring for most people, unless you're like really into numbers. And this may be like that. It's just kind of boring. But boy, oh boy, when it's put into a show, it's not boring. It's fun. Okay, guys, so that took care of that shot. The next shot is going to be Joachim. Joachim says, "Lekbar, there's no call for that. Asher's an old man, and he's an honored sage." And Asher says,
"Oh, that's very kind, Joachim. Your mother would be pleased. But Lekbar has a job to do, and I'm apparently a danger to the throne."
"The charges are ridiculous, and we all know it, Asher." And then Golik shows up. "Excuse us, gentlemen." Okay. I did get a nice compliment in a review on Amazon Prime of the show, where the girl said at first she was watching it, and the first impression was that the animation was kind of crude. This might be why both show introductions and the very beginnings of shows, like in the first episode, a lot of times there's a little more effort, a little more budget, a little more quality control put into the beginning of a show. I never really thought about this before, but I can see why they do it, because you don't want to turn audience off based on your general range of production value. If there's any chance that once they're sucked into the characters and the story, the comedy, whatever, that they'll stay with you. And her comment was, once she got a few minutes into the show, she forgot that the animation was crude because she was sucked into the story, which to me, that's like the greatest compliment. From what I see in the script so far, I think episode 4 is going to be kind of the peak of the series so far in terms of just good comedy and stuff. It really pops nicely. That's my opinion. Okay, so do we want to get into ink and paint? I think not. In fact, will I be inking and painting this in Blender, or will I bring this image sequence into Krita? I don't know yet.
I don't know yet. I haven't bloody well decided, have I?
And I don't know why I have Tahoma open. I haven't really been animating in Tahoma lately. Of course, I haven't really been animating that much at all. Let's take a break and divert over to the musical score on episode 3, just because it's fun to do so. And I had a little bit of an interesting experience yesterday in that I was working on the score, and just as we like to say, on a lark, what I did was I just took an entire block of music from earlier in the show and just cut and pasted it to later in the show. And it was freakish how well it worked. So I'm going to go back and just kind of look a little bit here at what we have. Okay, I think I need to turn my volume.
Out of the way, kid. Wow, crazy
I am...
crazy busy today, huh?
My mouse seems to be starting to fail.
It's a zoo. I got no time for chit-chat, kid. Go in and order some food, or beat it. Well, it looks like you could use some help.
Okay,
And I could sort of use a job.
okay, I'm not sure what I'm hearing here. It seems to me there's a droning note that I've not seen that anywhere in the music. I wonder if we just had
And
a
order
little
some
artifact.
food, or beat it. Well, it looks like you could use some help.
Yeah, that's better.
And I could sort of use a job. You got any experience?
Yeah, and I don't know how well this worked. I mean, I think the harp glissando did help.
I've been serving food my entire life.
You know, it's a dream,
All right,
not
kid.
a dream sequence.
Go
but a
take care of
flashback.
table 7. Thank you, sir. I really
Oh.
appreciate it. Move it!
Okay, so let me put a marker here. This line of dialogue is terrible. Revoice this. Boing, 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 boing. It's way too weak. Melchizedek needs to be a lot more enthusiastic. Like, oh, thank you, sir. I really you know, he really needs to be a little
Table
more over the top.
7. Thank you, sir.
That's
I
way
really
too weak.
appreciate it. Move it! You. Oh, yes,
Okay,
sir.
so
Yes, sir.
I don't have anything musical there supporting that. We will be coming back to this region later. First, I want to review what's going on so far.
Get moving!
Definitely need some sound effects there.
Table 7.
I don't love this.
Can I take your order? Finally.
Okay, so let's say this needs to be set to the beginning of that clip, and I would say from here to here, I'm just making a note for later, so I'm going to insert a region, and I mean, this music was actually pulled from earlier in the show, and I think this is the part of it that's not really working.
Take your order?
Hey, Jim P. Off topic, sorry, one of your Clerks actors, Brian, was on the floor this season. It's a game show on Fox with Rob Love as the host, or Rob Lowe. One of your Clerks actors. You referring to the movie Clerks? I never saw it. I mean, I know why in the sort of the indie film world, if you're into Robert Rodriguez or you're into Quentin Tarantino, you're into that whole era. Basically the 90s, when Sundance turned from what it had been to a much bigger, much more competitive space, yada, yada, yada. Clerks was one of the movies that sort of was part of that. I obviously had nothing to do with that movie, so I'm not sure what you meant by... No. I got a movie... Okay, I see the mistake. Yeah, I have a movie called Clerical Errors. Has nothing to do with Clerks. But, yeah, I mean, Clerks is... I never saw it, so I'm a little embarrassed to admit that, but because it is kind of a classic in that indie vein. Again, it's the era that launched those careers I mentioned a little bit ago.
Take your order?
Finally. Now, I'm sure the staff is doing their best. Drinks to start.
Yeah, this part all worked out
You
fine.
look familiar, young man.
It's a
Have we
little
met
warm.
before?
That's cool.
No, sir.
Oh, the irony of that statement. It's a little warm. That's cool.
No, sir.
The hell is wrong with me?
I'm just a Gripson boy doing Gripson things.
Right there, we need a little pop. Okay, so give me half a second here while I grab my little MIDI keyboard controller. There we go. Without the keyboard, can't do too much. All right, so we're looking at the pizzicato. Looking at a little bit of pizzicato. I'm feeling like I want a little bit of a pop on his.
I'm just a Gripson boy doing Gripson
Where was that?
things.
Okay, right there. Ooh, boy, that's the contrabass. Okay, my left hand has an E.
No, sir.
What I'm going to do is just hit this.
I'm just a Gripson boy.
I'm just going to hit it because I'm not looking at the screen. And all I'm doing is trying to find where his eyes pop up. Was it there? That's right there. That's what I was looking for. That little pop.
I'm just a Gripson boy doing Gripson things.
Okay, this, the legato. Again, what we're doing right now is we're taking music that was cut and pasted essentially from earlier in the show and just finding the things that are wrong with it. Most of it worked, but at the moment I'm just kind of looking at some things that didn't quite work.
Gripson things.
Okay, that seems to me it wants to end at the pop.
Things.
Okay, and this same thing.
Things.
The clarinet figure, I mean, it's okay.
Yep, I love this old tab.
Yeah, these two, let's just get rid of them. The thing is, these percussive pizzicato things, like, that type of stuff, it's so simple and quick and easy to do. And when you're dealing with Mickey Mousing, I want to be careful how I say this. What is Mickey Mousing? I'm doing a lot of it in this show, honestly. Mickey Mousing is a term that's generally referring to the idea that your music is following the action and it is punctuating the action, like a lot. So in the quintessential example being cartoons. Not just Mickey Mouse stuff, but everything Carl Stalling did with the Warner Brothers stuff. Now, the reason I say I want to be careful is that what Carl Stalling and Scott Bradley, who did the Tom and Jerry cartoons, what those guys did really well was they did rampant Mickey Mousing, but that Mickey Mousing typically was inside. It was basically an orchestration and arrangement technique that was enfolded by cohesive music. So it might be a theme and variation on an old folk tune or a children's song. Ring Around the Rosie, Pocket Full of Posy, that type of thing would become the basis. Basically public domain music would be the basis. And by the way, just if you want to think about it from a business standpoint, it was a good move for the studios that were having these cartoons produced. Reason being that they had to pay Scott Bradley, they had to pay Carl Stalling. However, they didn't really have any ongoing royalty expense associated with the music because all the music was based in the public domain, right? So, not a bad way to operate. So, let's keep going here. Anyway, the other thing about the Mickey Mousing thing is that it's really, as I've gotten my head wrapped around it, it's really surprised me how easy it is, how flexible it is. In other words, what's really going on in the music has a lot more to do with the range and texture of it than it has to do with the melody or the notes. Maybe I can illustrate that by muting the voices for a minute. I'll come back here and just play just the music. You can see that harmonically there is not a song that you can sing along with that's, sort of a thread that the orchestration is bouncing around. It's really more just, if I pull up my spiccato strings, it's just that type of thing. It's just a bunch of diminished chords, and sometimes I don't even know what the notes are. It's like things like that. I just kind of go by feel. And then in places like this, what happens is the music becomes more cohesive and actually has a melody. And the thing you're always arguing with yourself about is how much is the music drawing attention to itself as opposed to really supporting the visuals. In this case, there is no dialogue going on, so what you're hearing is pretty much what's going to be in the show, other than maybe some sound effects that are added. For me, it works. There's one thing, like right there, little things like that, like the pizzicato punch. It's cool, but it feels like it's a bit late, maybe. I don't know, let me see that again. Or maybe it was early. Yeah, I guess it was early, actually. I'm dyslexic, so sometimes I get things reversed. Yeah, that feels better. So you got bump, 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 bump. You see the rhythm of that? Bump, 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 rest, bump. And as you can see, this has a retard on it, okay? Meaning it slows down as it goes. Does that feel good? Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty close. It seems to me it's maybe a little late if you want to maintain that rhythm. Boom, 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 boom. Let's try that. Yeah, not bad. You get the idea. And keep in mind that, I don't know, the music might be a little more prominent than it really would be in an actual show. But let me just say this: I've had a hell of a lot of fun on this score, because I've always, ever since I got involved in filmmaking, I've always said that I started making films to give myself an excuse to score them, and that is not necessarily too far from the truth. And I sucked at it. I mean, I sucked at it so bad. I've always been pretty good on melody. I'm okay on orchestration. So the movie... Knock my headphones off. The movie that Jim P. mentioned, Clerical Errors, I would say that movie and Healed by Grace 2 were the peak for me in terms of just doing a good job with songs and music. But as far as Mickey Mousing and really letting orchestration and texture take center stage, it's something I've always wanted to do well, and I just feel like I've never really done it very well, but it seems to be getting better. It seems to be getting better. And sections like this I really like. It might be a little too busy, admittedly. Like that, you hear the little piccolo when the water gets thrown out. I think that's cool. I really like stuff like that. So now I'm going to turn the dialogue back on.
Go in and order some food, or beat it.
Well, it looks like you could use some help. And I could...
Okay, that feels a little too legato to me. One way we can address that potentially here is, let me pop that up into the other track so I can get that separated. I'm thinking this feels like it all happens a little too slowly. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to time stretch. When I time stretch MIDI notes, all I'm doing is changing the length of the notes. So it doesn't change the pitch or anything. So I'm just wanting this little bit here to be more like doo-doo instead of doo-doo.
Is a job. Well, it looks like you could use some help. And
It's still too slow. Wow. That's crazy. I'm just going to kind of wrap it right into the middle of the 2 bits of dialogue.
like you could use some help. And I could sort of use a job.
See, now that time it made me chuckle. Isn't that weird? Just that slight change in timing made me giggle a bit, you know? It just felt right.
Sort of use a job
to me.
You got any experience?
Okay, so now here what happened was I had an answer. Let me solo that. So you had this, and then I had this. Okay, so now there might be some room for a little bit of a slowdown on it. But basically what I'm trying to do is I'm going to say, okay, if this is a really subtle musical figure that's punctuating what's going on between these two people, then why not, look, the dialogue ends here and starts here, so why not just stick it in between? So what you wind up with is a song where the dialogue is part of the song, and there's a rhythm to it.
Use some help.
Bop, doo-doo.
And
blah,
I
blah,
could
blah,
sort
blah,
of
blah,
use
blah,
a
blah,
job.
blah.
You got it.
Okay, but these notes are now too quiet. They're a little too quiet. So I'm going to turn them all the way down. Probably about there.
Job. You got any experience?
And this might be a good example where this is probably going to sound better if I just take it out.
And
silence
I could
will
sort of
do a
use
better
a
job.
You got any experience?
Yeah, definitely. This is not. Let's get rid of it.
And I could sort of use a job. You got any experience?
Yeah, and that glissando. Again, I'm not totally sure I love what I did there.
I've been serving food my entire life. All right, kid. Go take...
I don't like that. Well, okay, I see why I put that in there. I put that in there because I was Mickey Mousing the shrug. Let me think about that for a second. Say, I got a few people watching. Now, it might be like the other day when Ross and someone else were actually either watching or listening to me under 2 different accounts. So maybe there's 4 versions of Jim P Animation watching right now. That would be a little weird, but yeah, okay.
I've been...
Okay, so this does not feel very good to me. Would the idea work if it was more percussive? Who knows? Let's pull it down into the pizzicato. I think then that pitch is going to be too high, but let's find out.
Entire life.
I like that.
All right, kid.
Wow.
Go take care of table 7. Thank you, sir.
Okay, this... What does he say?
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate...
I'm actually going to just delete these right now and re-record them right now. So this is still going to have to be re-recorded later because I'm using a crappy microphone. But this needs to be more like, thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. Okay. Not perfect, but it's certainly more perfect than what I had. And that's supposed to be Melchizedek. And this... Oh, I see. Let's put Mel in his own... Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it.
Move it. Oh, yes.
Okay, and so we absolutely need something musical here.
You really
to punctuate.
Move it. Oh, yes, sir.
Okay, and this is risky behavior for me. Because I have no idea what I'm going to do. Okay, let me just backtrack a little bit and try to get my bearings. Okay,
all
we're
right,
just
kid.
dealing with chromatics.
Go take care of table 7.
Okay, so bear with me, folks. Let me take a look at this, see what we got here. Okay, this ended on a G. It was C, D, D sharp, F, F sharp. That suggests key of E, honestly.
Go take care of table 7.
Thank you. Okay, I kind of have an idea here. Okay, so we want that flat note in there, I think. Okay, and that's not punchy enough. Maybe the oboe. What the heck? I'm going to just throw it in there and see how things feel. Expect this to be awful, you guys, okay? I still don't like the... It still feels a little too legato. Now, it's partly because of the reverb on the back end of it, but... Let me do the bassoon. Okay, let's just...
Go take care of table 7.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it.
Move it!
Okay, so I missed my
yes,
cue.
sir. Yep.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. Okay, that maybe got me into it. And by the way, again, is anybody watching? Like, we've got several people watching, but nobody's saying hello. And by the way, it's okay to do like Jim did and go off topic. I don't care.
Take care of table 7.
Thank you, sir. I really Okay, so what would we do with that? We said we're in the key of E, more or less, but yet we're throwing in a C, which only serves to suggest perhaps a diminished chord. So let's...
Take care of table 7.
Thank you, sir. I really... Yeah, I'm going to
Take
throw
care of
that in.
table 7.
Thank you, sir. I... Critian 01. You're not here. Okay. Okay, cool. You're not here. It's all good. Thank you, sir. Okay, I like that. I don't know that it's like amazing or anything, but see, we're about to... I'm going to have to hit the trombones. Let's try... Okay, so I'm going to stick with these diminished chords. I like that even better when it's got that little poopy push there. Alright, so let's just try this. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it.
Move it! Oh, yes, sir.
It's not complicated, folks. You're just trying to help the story along.
Go take care of table 7.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it.
Move it!
To me, that sort of worked. Now, the question then becomes, well, what else do you want to do with this? Okay, what is the chord? It is effectively... It's effectively a C diminished. Whatever, the fact that we're really effectively in E doesn't matter for these purposes. Well, let's look at this. The fact of the matter is, if you're in the key of E, okay, that chord that I just played kind of suggests more than anything. Well, you've got the A already in the chord. This note is 1/2 step away from E. Okay, so this note is only 1/2 step from E. So you'd be going from this. Okay, so leave that for a moment, and then the chord has an A in it, which voice leading suggests generally if you want things to flow smoothly, you want to move as little as possible. So this would be the little tip for the sort of amateur, I don't know, piano players or songwriters out there or whatever. If you want your music to sound smooth, then look at progressions where just experiment with this. It's not a rule, okay, it's just an idea. But the idea is that as you're working out a progression, if you can, whatever the chord is that you're playing and that you're sort of vamping over or singing over, only change one note. and see where that takes you. So here's an E. If I only change one note, it could be any of the three. If I change the low note by going up a whole step, then it would go from... That works. If I bring the E down a half step, that works. It suggests a B with an added sixth. And then the question is, now I've got three notes that are basically a fourth apart. How would you resolve that? Well, the easiest way to resolve it with the least amount of motion would be for the high note now to move. So what happened was, somebody's knocking at the door. So I'm going to turn off the microphone and I'll be right back.
Out of the way, kid.
Wow, crazy busy today, huh?
It's a zoo. I got no time for chit-chat, kid. Go in and order some food, or beat it.
Well, it looks like you could use some help. And I could sort of use a job.
You got any experience?
I've been serving food my entire life.
All right, kid. Go take care of table 7.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it.
Move it!
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. That brought us back to where we left off, I believe, didn't it? Yeah. Yeah, that was my neighbor. He's, it's a bit of a story, but basically he's got a bunch of stone that he's doing some landscaping with, and I helped him go get the stone the other day, and so now he's like, well, here's the stone I have left over. Where do you want it? Because I told him whatever he didn't use, I would wind up using. Okay. Where were we before I was so rudely interrupted? Here.
All right, kid. Go take care of table 7.
Okay, I want this to maybe scale up a little stronger. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do it down here. I'm going to just pull these so that you get a nice progression here.
Go take care of table 7.
You feel how it gets bigger as it goes? Okay.
Go take care of table 7.
Thank you, sir.
And basically in the sound effects, what we need is, let's just go to the sound effects channel. Just
table 7.
There's gonna be a lot of this. This is always the case in any cartoon. Little effect like this.
7.
I didn't get the timing of it right, but you get the idea. And you can do an amazing amount of sound effects with just your voice.
Table 7.
Okay, yeah. The problem is it happens way too late. This is one of the flaws of Reaper. It tends to not, like every once in a while the video doesn't track with the audio, right? It's because it's an MP4 probably. It has to sort of search through the MP4 to find the
table
keyframes.
7. Table 7.
Yeah, that did not work at all.
Table 7.
That's better.
Table 7.
So I'll come back to that, but just you get that timing wise is probably more correct. Let me see what happens if we clean this out. If we say, look, let's just say philosophically, the idea here is that we don't really want to, we want this to be heard. So we don't want it to be doing battle with the music. Okay, so I'm going to actually just move this back a little bit and see if it still feels all right.
All right, kid. Go take care of table 7.
That probably feels better.
Go take care of table 7.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it.
Move it!
Okay, so now, what do we want here? Geez. If I was in the studio, I would probably add some tremolo strings off of my keyboard. The way I've got it set up here, the instrumentation pretty much is what it is. I don't have a quick and convenient way without inserting program changes to change the instruments. So basically I have 16 instruments, and if I really want something different, it's always really quick and easy in the studio to just record it live up here on the live tracks. But when I'm doing the live stream here, I can't really do that. So it's not that I can't do it, but it's a bit of a clunker that intercepts the creative flow, let's say. Okay. All right, I have an idea. Let's see. What did I say? I'm in the key of E. I'm going to say... I'm just going to try it. What the hell? I have no idea.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm going to throw that in there, and then I'm actually going to find a place for it. Back here, wow, I didn't realize I had bassoon in that figure right there.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. Move it.
Okay, so what I'm trying to get at here is this, I think.
Really appreciate it. Move it. Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm just going to keep going. I have no idea if this is going to work, but I'm just going to try it. Piccolo? Let's go up like 2 octaves, 3 octaves. I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm going to try
appreciate it. Move it. Oh, yeah.
That didn't work. It's all too... This is why I said if I was in the studio, I'd just throw in some tremolo strings over top of it. I'm wanting to punch this moment a little bit more. We could certainly add a timpani. That would be okay. So let's go down an octave and say the basis for this chord is pretty much the C, I think. So let's just see if it's too much.
Yes, sir. Yes.
If it's too much when I add it, let's see.
I really appreciate it. Move it. Oh, yes.
All right, so I just added the timpani to punch it up even more. I'm going to take the voices out for a minute. Yeah, see if there was a... Okay. Trying to figure out what the notes would want to be. Spiccato? That actually might work. I'm going to go... Alright, I'm going to just put that in. Okay. I think I accidentally just now did it in the right place. My intention was to just play it and then drag it around to where it needs to be. But let me solo that. Okay, that's fine. Okay, the only thing that's bugging me is this low note hangs on too long. And also, I feel like what I want to do is add that low note also in the trombone, I think, so that it has a really... Here's what we're going to do. Watch this. Okay. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to... Actually, let's find the end of the note and just change the note. I'm going to shorten this way down. So it just has the little fart, if you will, that little fart feeling, to just punch this one note at the beginning, and then it gets held out by the bassoon. Now, if you wanted to drag this out, depending on how the action goes, what you'd probably do is, once this is sustained, you'd introduce something maybe in the clarinet dancing over top of it that then hangs over and carries you into the next section. The way I've got it right now, you pretty much just have this really obnoxious percussive burp that doesn't really go anywhere. And that might be okay, because we are transitioning into a new scene here, you know, when Melchizedek goes into the tavern.
Move it. Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so the only thing that really doesn't work about this, and I think the problem really comes down to the editing of the show, not the music, is that his reaction to the move it does seem kind of late.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. Move it.
Okay, so let's play with that. I'm going to assume it's actually just the timing of the voice. obviously it cuts to Mel before he says this, so let's just pop this forward so that it overlaps a little bit like that. And probably this, I'm guessing, is going to want to be like that. So let's just see how that feels.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. Move it. Oh, yes, sir.
I reserve the right to suck. I think this needs to be later, but there is a gap there, so I'm going to put it earlier and just see what happens. What probably belongs is something that gets me from here to here so that this can actually be later. But let's see what it feels like.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it.
And again, that's what I just said about the video. It kind of lost synchronization.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. Move it.
Yeah, that doesn't work at all, obviously. Okay. So let's just see if this works.
Move it. Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Move it. Oh, yes.
Okay, and this needs to be re-recorded as well. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sorry. Okay, that probably doesn't need to be in there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let's see.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm going. I'm just throwing
Yes,
that
sir.
in. to see what-
Yes, sir. I'm going.
Okay, that doesn't work because his voice stops, or his lips stop moving. So, yeah, I know. You're thinking, seriously, is the creation of the show really this willy-nilly? Yes. Yes, it's willy-nilly. That's half the fun, guys.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. Move it.
Okay, the only thing I can think to do here I'm going to just take a stab here. I'm going to assume I can use the key of E and actually put a melodic figure of some kind in here. How long would it be? It'd be like...
Thank you, sir.
It'd be like...
Really appreciate
blah,
it.
blah,
Move
boom.
it.
Blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's bassoon, not French horn. I'm just going to put something in and see what happens.
Really appreciate it. Move it. Yes, sir.
I just... No idea if this is going to work at all.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. Move it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Kinda, sorta. I mean, it's like...
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, Oh boy, this seems dumb. I'm gonna put this little bit in from the show, not the theme, but basically the melodic figure that was heard quite a lot in the first 2 episodes. Okay, and then let's give it a shot.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so now this other music that I said didn't really work. Starts here. We don't need a legato string thing going on here. Now maybe here there would be some sort of descending figure that would get us to here, and it might make sense to start it there.
Move it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, obviously I played that horribly out of time, so... But conceptually, not bad. I think I'm going to go back to the tried and true clarinet. And I'm going to do that. Actually, maybe I'll do that. Yes, I like that.
Move it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Move it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I like it a lot. Actually, it probably needs a little bit of string support. Like I'm feeling some like low mid-range there that's missing. But let me correct this. These notes are pretty obnoxiously strong in their velocity. You can see it down here. These numbers should be somewhat more like that. I think.
Move it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, I like it. Again, this note or this pair of notes definitely too strong.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. Move it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's go to the full strings. We'll just keep it simple. I'm going to drop 1 octave. That puts me in this range. Okay. So what I'm missing, I went. So what I'll do is I'll take the low notes and just to see if it works, I'm going to add another diminished chord. In other words, a minor third below. Okay, here we go.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it.
Here it goes. Here it comes.
Yes, sir.
Coming up. Here it
Yes,
comes.
sir.
I played that wrong. Let me look at this. Sometimes my brain creatively goes kind of fast. Yeah, I thought I went high, low, high, and I went low, high, low. So it would be. And actually, let me just double check the exact notes. Okay, we've got. So I ended on the E flat D sharp. Okay, so in the strings it would be. Okay. Okay, except one thing I want to check. My low note here was, of course, the C. I don't actually know if I want to duplicate that note. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. I'll put that in first, and then we'll come back and see if it wants another note on the bottom. If you're having a hard time following this, don't sweat it. Okay, that was out of time, obviously. Move this back a little bit. Get those babies lined up. Okay, not bad. So this would be. And what do we do? What do we do? Let's put it in the contrabass, maybe. Just let's see. Yeah. Now the question or problem now becomes. This sounds a little ominous, so that sounds uncertain. This sounds ominous. Is my situation ominous? No. It becomes ominous later when he realizes that the people that are trying to capture the kids are right there in the tavern and he has to serve their table. Yes, it becomes ominous, but at this point it's not ominous yet. So that low note should not be in there. Making sense? Anyway.
Sir, I really appreciate it. Move it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm going to change this figure. I'm just going to try something here. I don't know if this is going to work. I just feel like I want to give it some rhythm. I don't know.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. Move it. Yes, sir. Appreciate it. Move it.
Not bad, actually. Now, the timing is pretty crappy here. What you'll notice here is that I am not... Like there's a grid to this score, like the song has a tempo as far as the Reaper file goes. I'm not following that tempo at all. This is totally freeform. So
appreciate it. Move it.
Yep. Okay, yeah. So what I want to do now is take this whole bit and I want it to condense kind of a lot.
Move it. Yes, sir.
That worked. It's not amazing.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. Move it.
I'm going to see what happens just for fun if I double that with the spiccato strings. And probably drop this an octave. So star negative 12 means drop it an octave.
Move it! Move it! Yes, sir.
Okay, I mean, it kind of works other than it's a little too dramatic. Same problem we had over here with the low note. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a little envelope here that makes the velocity of the spiccato come in gradually over time. So
Sir, I really appreciate it. Move it! Yes, sir.
and it kind of makes the whole bit kind of build up to the obnoxious, I guess you'd call it a crescendo.
Really appreciate it. Move it!
And actually, I think I'm going to go like this. I'm going to make this even more extreme.
Move it! Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so classic Mickey Mousing situation. Classic Mickey Mousing situation. Okay. All right, that the my velocity there was a little weak. So this would stop. Probably you found that obvious. Okay, yeah, so this is just a little too weak. Now, one thing I do sometimes, if it's all sort of kind of happening, but everything feels a little too simple and crunched together, what I'll do is I'll take the middle note maybe and lower it an octave, just to spread the harmony out a bit. Okay, and in this case, the low note should be a little weaker, and the high note should be a little stronger. We'll split the difference on that one. And the fact that it's not in perfect time is a good thing. Okay. And I'm just going to fall back on the tried and true, and then I think I'm going to end the scoring session. Because my brain's getting tired. Okay, I played that. I wasn't looking at the screen, so I know I played it way too early. Okay, in other words, I know this is, I want this here. We've got one rogue note there. Okay, and now, if you can believe it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do... Golly. What the heck? I'm just going to do the bassoon. And I'm going to take these notes and I'm just going to lower them a minor third. And probably turn them all down a little bit. Okay, that was pretty simple. So the only thing missing is something on that number 7. I guess for the moment I'll stick with this. I went like this. So maybe... this is probably like the stupidest idea ever, but I'm going to throw it in anyway. My rationale is that this is actually a perfect major chord, which feels a little more stable and solid and happy, if you will. I don't know if it's going to work. It's probably not going to work. We'll try it. Yeah, that was pretty simple, wasn't it? And where the heck is that 7? Right there. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and expand on this a bit. Let's expand on this. First of all, let's take this and drop it an octave. So it's got a little bit more beef to it. No. It's too something about this. It's way too strong. That's okay. Like I said, we're just, that note is obviously ridiculous. Let's just go ahead and keep fiddling. I'm going to drop that an octave. Punch it a bit. No, that I definitely don't like. Without even seeing it, I'm pretty sure I don't like it. Now we're getting into the territory where I'm sort of trying things, and it's not wonderful. I mean, it all feels a little high to me. Let's take the pizzicato and drop them an octave just to see how it feels. Okay, again, the notes are way too close. So let's take this one, the middle note, and put it back. Darn it. Plus 1, 2. Boy, it feels... Yeah, I mean, maybe. Something's missing, though. I'm not sure what it is. I'm feeling something that wants to be a little percussive. Maybe a bit of a burp in the... Let me see, what do I got here? We've got an A. Well, okay. When you wanna punch something up a bit and you're not sure what to do and you don't remember what you played, here's what you do. Just copy the clip to the other instrument and then modify this clip to fit that instrument, which in this case would be definitely drop it an octave. Okay. If we want this to be the low note, and I'm going to introduce 1/2 step of dissonance. Crank it way up and then pull it back like this. And that note probably should not be in there. Yes, yes. Now we're getting into John Williams territory. Now, that's a very arrogant and ridiculous thing to say, obviously. But what I mean is, you hear that a lot in JW's music where he'll have a softer note that is just like a 1/2 step out of tune. And it feels really good because it gives this sort of vague, ambiguous ambiguity to the music, which then enhances the feeling. So the feeling of the sound or the audio works better when the music technically is worse. Really hard to wrap your head around, I guess. Hard to explain. Okay, so now this bit here, let me go to where he... Yeah, let me just go find the spot where... Right there. Okay, we've got a note that's dragging. So what I want to do is turn that off and just... We'll extend this to here. Alright, and now I'm going to just cheat just to see what happens. I'm going to take this bit here and just copy it over here and just see what happens. It probably won't work at all, but what the heck. Okay, if we took this, put it there, and then again we're completely making this up as we go along. I'm just going to raise the whole bit a minor third. And I'm going to be changing this, but that's too high. Nope. I'm not even looking at the show. I'm just thinking about the... Yep. I'm just putting that in there because I know what I want to do, and then I'll go ahead and move it into place. I just want it on this bit here. Yep. So again, it's not perfect. This is kind of wild. The problem mainly is that the brass bits are a little strong. And so now I'm going to mute this. Yeah, yeah. I'm going to go ahead and take this, move it back in time a little bit, punch up these two low notes just a little, so it doesn't all sound just kind of like exactly the same. And then this stuff really, I mean, I'm thinking it can be in there. Not that note, but this. I'm just going to give it, I'm just tone it down a little bit. See? I mean, to me, that's indisputable. That works. That feels good to me. No, maybe I'm an idiot. I don't know. You can really see what's going on in his head. Okay, so let's stop there and return to Blender. So now we're back to episode 4. Let me save my work on the Reaper. I'll revisit that when I am in the studio. So I'm going to take my MIDI controller and get it out of my way, so I can get back to my tablet screen where I love to do my drawing. I love to draw pretty pictures and all that sort of goodness. Okay. What are we doing? I've been live streaming for only an hour and 16 minutes. That's crazy. I think this shot looks incredible. Okay, so the question may emerge, well, what's kind of the surrounding context of this shot?
Well, it's a fair question. I'm glad you asked.
Not that anybody asked, but I'm going to pull up episode... Where is episode 4? Maybe I never did. Actually, I guess I never did. This is what I'm thinking of. So the opening scene of of episode 4 is this. Okay, that's how the episode starts. Obviously, there's probably a slow push like this as we're watching it, kind of thing. Okay, so then it cuts to this close-up bit. Okay, so the question then becomes, as stated, is what are we going to do as far as ink and paint? Since it's nothing but fun, I'm going to go ahead and just turn this down and go to the lines layer, switch my material to charcoal ink. I'm using the Conan brush. Now the rule is, when you're doing ink, is turn the strength variability off so that all lines, it's like a technical drawing pen is what we're trying to do. So I'm going to turn the radius variability off as well. And I'm not sure what the heck. I think maybe 12 pixels. Okay. I'm going to go in real close and see if it's feeling right. Yeah, that does feel right. Yep. Good. I like it muy mucho. I'm gonna do... I kind of didn't think about the fact that, you know, in a sketch it's easy to just draw a black shadow area. So, should I delineate this guy's eyes? I guess I should. Let's just do it. What the heck? There we go. I want to make this guy a bit cranky looking. He's cranky. He's not the nicest guy ever. Okay. I do like the technical drawing pen idea. It's a good way to ink. It's very controllable. Very clean. And very Blender friendly, let's say. Very Blender friendly. It gives me that Ben Caldwell meets Alex Toth kind of look that I tend to like. So what the heck? Let's just do it. Okay, so I'll put in some indications here of his facial hair, and it probably is obvious that we're going to have to manually paint the color. We won't be able to you know, we won't be able to just do a fill operation. One thing you might notice on the pen here is that if we go to the, is it under stroke? Yes. Stabilize stroke. I've got the stabilizer set to the weakest possible setting, and it is turned off. If it was on all the time, that would actually be okay, but I still have it set to the default where if I press shift, it gives me just enough stabilization that for straight lines, I can get a nice clean line. Whereas if I take my finger off the shift button, then you tend to start getting a lot more variability in the lines, which you usually can't really see until you look really close, but you can kind of see it. You can definitely see the difference between this and this. Get it? So if I want a little bit of precision, I just actually, let me correct this. This is a little wrong-ish, isn't it? Okay, how can we correct that? Well, we should basically put the centered line there, more or less, to figure out where our lines need to be. Very similar to a challenge I had yesterday. So, when I bought the house that I currently live in, have been here for 12 years, I asked I bought it from some guys that flipped it, right? And I said to the flippers, you know, can you put in a vent into this one bedroom, which has literally no vent. It's upstairs, and there's no heat or air in that room. And they're like, well, we can't really do that, but what we can do is put in like a ceiling fan kind of thing. So I'm like, well, okay, so we'll do that. 12 years later, I'm going, wait a second. I'm in the bathroom, and in the shower, way up high on the wall, there's a vent. So there's air coming into the bathroom. Like, how the hell did they not notice that if you just punched a hole through that vent into the adjacent room, you would have a vent for heat and cooling going in that room? I'm like, this is like ridiculous. So if they're not going to do it, by gum, I am. And so, yeah, yesterday I was. But my point about this that you're looking at me do right now is that I had to basically punch. Okay, let me do it this way. Here's the vent. So so you get a vent in your house, a register, whatever you want to call it. You take the cover off. And inside, what you see is, obviously, it's about 10 inches wide, and, this is where the air comes out. Okay, so going down here is going down into the basement. So here's what I did. I took an angle grinder, and I cut this way, and then I cut this way. I had already drilled a hole through the middle, and then I cut this way, so that these pieces of sheet metal, if you looked at it from the side, from inside the room, so you go to the other side of the wall, and now you're in the bedroom, and I have already cut a piece out of the drywall. So what we see is basically, after I bent the sheet metal a little bit, is this. Basically, the sheet metal is bent out like that. It's not quite this extreme. And all of a sudden, now we've got airflow into this room that we haven't had for 12 years. All because I had the presence of mind to say, look, if there's air going into the bathroom, then it must be able to go into the bedroom too. The things we deal with, right? And now we're down to one viewer, which means nobody cares. Nobody cares about my adventures in, home improvement or whatever. Too bad. Dave, you know what? Dave, you're just not that interesting. You're just not. It's true. Okay, those fingers look a little obnoxious. I'm giving myself a bit of latitude for the simple reason that these fingers are only closed shapes because I need to be able to fill them. Right? What you actually are going to see is this, which is like, it's okay. Right. So, Cridian01, are you still here? Like, who's here? Is anyone here? Boom. Like I said, Ben Caldwell meets Alex Toth. That's kind of the look I go for when it comes to ink and paint. But yeah, if I was going to watch animation-related content on YouTube, which I actually don't. I virtually never do, as a matter of fact. This is what I would want to watch. I would want to watch somebody just doing the real world work. That's why I created the channel, is because to me that's what's interesting. What's the real work look like? Not the fantasy about the latest feature of this or that software and blah, blah, blah. Or the nonsense of the other channel I said I wasn't going to mention by name, where a failed animator is teaching you how to be an animator, just like the old Disney guys. Which, of course, no one does anymore. I mean, that's not really true, but it's pretty close to true. In other words, nonsense to just waste your time and teach you absolutely. Well, to be fair, he does teach the principles of animation, and he actually does a pretty good job of it, truth be known. I just find it's like day trading. You know, I had a guy that I liked on YouTube that I unsubscribed from the minute he created a custom indicator that he was selling on his channel. I said, look, dude, here's the problem. There is literally no scenario in the human story whereby someone who claims to be making money day trading for any reason would ever have a membership or sell an indicator or anything like that. Now, if you want to argue, well, no, that's not true. They might do it, and the reason they do it is just because they want to connect socially with people. Okay, maybe that's it. But to me, I'm like, dude, if you're selling an indicator, that is absolute evidence that you are not succeeding in your day trading. You're claiming to so that people will buy your indicator, but what you're figuring out is people will buy an indicator and you'll make a hell of a lot more money on memberships and some sort of community model that makes people feel encouraged while they lose their money in the market. And you're making money on them. And the fact is you're not a successful trader, because if you were, anything that you create like that, you would give away for free. There's no way you'd be selling it. You know, and then somebody would say, well, no. I mean, and by the way, you guys are welcome to weigh in on this, because maybe I should have a membership tier on my YouTube channel, you know, that you have to pay for. Maybe I should do that. Should I do that? Think about it. Does that actually make sense? Well, if I'm making absolutely zero money from this cartoon, which is not the case, and the fact is it's a completely failed enterprise, well, then it kind of makes sense to look at other streams, for sure. But to me, the evidence is indisputable. If you're offering, you know, value-added services, it's because the primary service is a failure. So, in my case, I just unsubscribed from the guy. Said, no. You're clearly a liar. You have to be. There is no way. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm ridiculous. Maybe it's harsh to suggest that if a person was actually making money with the methodologies that they claim work, that they would, you know, they still might. So, well, you might say, well, why not pursue every possible, revenue stream? Isn't that just good business? And I would say yes. I would concede that is true. Yeah, the Conan brush, I'm not totally... The thing about the Conan brush... Actually, let me pause. I want to pause a moment and show you something about this. Let me save my work. Okay, so the mindset behind the Conan brush... I'm a big fan of John Buscema's Conan, and I'm a real big fan of the guy that drew this, which I... Don't quote me on this, but I don't think John Buscema drew this. I think this was Rob de la Torre that drew it. And Rob he completely channels John Buscema. I mean, and I really love Rob because if you look at his earlier work before he was doing Conan, you can tell that he's got a bandwidth as a cartoonist that's much wider than what he's doing right now. He channeled John Buscema because he wanted to, and it suited the task at hand, not because that's all. He's not a one-trick pony by any stretch. Really skilled cartoonist, really skilled comic book artist. Anyway, I was like, okay, I want to have a brush like when Buscema used to ink his own art. Okay, and I'm going to turn the strength. I'm going to undo the strength because I want it to be black, like ink, like I'm using a brush. Okay, so this is not perfect. It is not perfect. In Krita, it is pretty much perfect. Not perfectly perfect, but okay, what's going on here? Come on. Okay. It's pretty close. Pretty close to perfect. In Blender, honestly, it's not quite as dialed in, but it's close. Again, it's close. Not horrible. So what it means is if I want to do comic book inking, I can. If I have a light touch, I can do sketching and block in my pencil test. Or in this case, if I wanted to actually draw a Conan, I could do that too. The thing you always want to look at with Buscema and Conan is that, and by the way, I just put the eyes a little too high on his head, is that the eyes are always smaller than you think. Like you're always going to want to draw the facial features larger than they're actually supposed to be, which I actually just did. Isn't that crazy? So the nice thing about it is it's suitable for inking, it's suitable for sketching, and then when it's time to do ink on the cartoon, like sketching meaning leave the strength on so that you can have a light touch and kind of scribble it in and make it work. And then when it's time to do inking, I just turn off all variability based on pressure and crank this down from 300 to 12. And then I have my technical drawing pen. So it's a very utilitarian all-around brush that there's nothing particularly fancy schmancy about it. So I just thought I'd cover that so you can see what the idea was. Let's go back to this. And on Krita, actually, what is it? F6? No, don't be so silly, Dave. It's F5. So F5, you can take a screenshot of this if you want. This is basically all the settings of the Conan brush. And as you can see, there is very little to it. It is a very simple brush that varies based on size. Pretty much that's it. So if you want to take a screenshot, you can see what all the settings are. And there you go. Very good. Very simple. Very fun. Back to work. Okay. Technical drawing pen, yes. All right. What about Joachim? I'm going to leave Joachim out. He is effectively, for this shot, he is effectively part of the background. Because he doesn't change at all throughout the sequence. So it's stupid to draw him in there so that then I'm fighting with, around him. Okay, so now for my purposes, let me just say, I am a bit of a pragmatist. I seem to be known for being fast. But let me tell you something. This is a dangerous moment. When I am fluidly creating an animatic or a rough pencil test animation like this, there's a lot of going into edit mode and just dragging things around, a little bit of sculpting, blah, 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 blah. Because of that, here's what I want to express, and I also want to keep in mind for myself. What happens is, this is the moment where you've done the hard work of completely drawing one frame. It is very tempting to want to get quote-unquote leverage, to just select things and drag them around and twist them and translate them and sculpt them in order to not have to do all the drawing over again. The main problem with that is that what I've noticed is in the real world, the final animations typically look better if there is that variability from panel to panel or frame to frame, actually. So completely well, that was not what I meant to do. Let me hit undo. So completely redrawing is actually a very good idea. You just flip back and forth. For this, like when I'm doing the pencil test, onion skins kind of help because you're just roughing in the general trajectory of action and whatnot. Once you're inking, onion skins, they just get in the way. So what I do is I just keep checking back. I just flip back to the previous frame, that's all. And that works well for me. Your mileage may vary. And by the way, you can see I'm a little sloppy there. Well, that's what happens when I'm going to hit the shift key. Truth of the matter is, at this point, probably turning stabilize on so it's just on all the time probably is the right choice. Again, I have the stabilization set as gentle as possible. And when I say Ben Caldwell meets Alex Toth, what I mean is I'm really looking at what is the minimum number of lines that I can use that effectively tells the story, you might say. Yep. So this is squinching down. We got some squash and stretch going on. This seems to have become a little more aggressive, as you can see. This bit would be, again, very tempting to just copy and paste, but it doesn't matter. So this is very old school, you know. If I was, you know, Eric Larson or Glenn Keane back in the old days, blocking in all the animation on paper, how would I do it? This is how I would do it. I would just keep flipping back and forth and just being kind of careful to maintain the continuity, right? This is, when it comes to animation, this is actually the most fun part I've found. When you're actually drawing and allowing it to have that natural variability that comes with going ahead and redrawing each frame. And bottom line is, yes, you do save a little time by sculpting and whatnot, but not that much. Not as much as you might think. Okay, so this I got to be careful here because it's different from the pencil test. Obviously, the idea that when he scowls, look at this, you got a straight line here, and now it's kind of going like this. Obviously, the idea that his hat would scowl as well is beyond ridiculous. Yet, it looks good, so we'll go with it. Okay, sometimes I do wind up having to do a little cleanup like that. But yeah, that feels pretty good. As long as we're here, let's see. So effectively, that's the same frame. And this would be a good example of, because I'm going to go get everything I just said now I'm going against. Because I haven't put a bunch of other ink lines in here and this is easy to grab, then at this early stage, there's no harm in just doing that, right? Okay. And let's face it, this bit of his face is kind of the most important part of the whole animation, so why not do what we can with it? Okay, and then we're into lip sync. So what I would say is we'll take this, let's do a little bit of a sculpt here just to add some variety to that. Okay, and then on this frame, we'll just jump into edit mode, grab his mouth, and kill the strokes so that we just leave room for lip sync later. That's all. Okay, stop everything. I just made a mistake. This keyframe. Yeah, this keyframe needs to be duplicated first. So Shift D, select linked, get rid of those. So basically here he starts talking. Now there is still a problem. I thought maybe there was and I didn't kind of notice what it was. So let me go into draw mode and then edit mode, grab these guys, and what I missed was that actually he moves back a bit. So that's where he starts talking. And here I would say slight shrink back into draw mode. Okay, let's see what we have. Okay, the only thing that is bugging me is this exaggerated right there. That exaggerated bit on his eye looks pretty lame. So I'm going to take this. When everything's moving fast, it's not that big of a deal. Now, if you're not sure, go into front view and then hit the 9 key so you can flip it. Okay, so now if I go into edit mode, if I go into sculpt mode and turn this on, then the only thing that can be sculpted is whatever's selected in edit mode. So that's quite useful. Okay, here we would want to go into edit mode, select nothing. Whoops, I did not mean to do that. That's a weird Blender artifact that's been in place for many years. Okay, okay, I'll go back out of edit mode, and so now I am already in sculpt mode. And I'm just trying to even this up. So the idea is that you got a lot of latitude to have the pictures be a little distorted or wacky or squash and stretch or whatever, until the character stops moving. Once the character stops moving, now the audience is going to digest the pose. So, and I've said this many times, and I swear I absolutely believe it. With animation like this, you can get away with murder as long as things are moving fast. Once they stop moving, the audience is going to get real critical real quick. Not claiming I do a perfectly wonderful job of executing in this regard either. Okay, that... I'm kind of glad I did that. Let's look at what he says dialogue-wise. Hang on, let me check the script. The script says, "Get it moving, traitor! Get it moving, traitor!" Okay, so I actually think that right there on the word moving is kind of cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this. I'll give him, should I give him 2 frames or 1? I'm going to give him 2, just to see if it works. Okay, so let's take the mouth out because we'll be doing the lip sync later. So let's just see if it feels good. Okay. Get it moving, traitor! Get it moving, traitor! I actually wonder if 3 or 4 frames would be better. Get moving, traitor. Get it moving, traitor. I would almost want to go 4. Okay, so then if I'm going to do that, then I'm going to have to adjust obviously the ink for his body all around. That concept. Right. Okay, so let's save our work. Always good to save. Still got 2 viewers today. What time is it? I'm at 1:44, so I may go for another quarter of an hour and see how things are feeling. Okay, I want to, on my other screen, gosh, I guess I'll bring up episode 2 because I'm thinking from a characterization standpoint. What I want to see is whatever's the most recent, version of my characters. What I'm doing is I'm looking for a character reference for Asher. So I guess I'll put the big preview thing on here. Oh, here we go. There we go. Oh! God, I am so stupid. Okay. Guys, forgive me, but I knew there was something wrong. I swear it's hopeless. Asher has a beard. How the heck could I forget? Okay, so this is the kind of thing that, it's like back in the old days. If you were ever into comic books back in the day, you might have looked at some of the things that went down in regard to continuity, and you go, how the hell did these guys foul up the continuity in ways that they did? And this is a common question, and the answer is that when you're doing it, if you're Jack Kirby and you're cranking out 12 comic books a month, you don't remember. All the details of continuity are remembered by the fans, not the people that actually did the work. So I'm just saying. And I've done this a trillion times where I realize after the fact that there's some major characterization or costuming mistake. This is even a little wrong. I mean, technically his nose is supposed to be a little longer than what I drew here. Now, admittedly, kind of like I was saying a moment ago, when things are moving quickly, which he's definitely moving quickly here, you can kind of get away with murder in terms of distortions because it just goes by too quick. Your brain can't digest it. So but yeah, it's pretty sad how many continuity glitches I have absolutely been guilty of. A big bony cheek, and then okay, so what Asher's really supposed to be is they're supposed to be like this, and his ears are pretty generously big too, by the way. So sorry about that, folks. Little continuity issue. I think we'll deal with Lechbar's hands last. Okay, we've got auto key on, so just for fun, I'll try doing this with sculpting. Okay. Okay. Here, this frame's already been drawn, so yeah, the takeaway is you can get away with murder as long as things are moving. Once characters stop moving, you need to pay attention to continuity, characterization, the pose, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't mean you can get away with anything, But you pretty much can. I mean, it's just like with the music. If I am dealing with that sort of dissonant Mickey Mousing thing, you can play almost anything, and if the texture and range of the instruments is correct, it'll work. Mostly. Not completely, but mostly. It never ceases to amaze me how true that is. Boom, boom. Poof, poof, and poof. Okay, let's just... Yeah, I mean, gosh. Okay, let's do it this way. I'm going to assume, let me just think for a minute here. If he got pushed like that, then there would be a recoil here. Right? There would be a recoil. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little correction here. And now let's sculpt. Yes, I think I'm going to actually Control C. I'm going to get Asher back up into the... Okay, that was not supposed to happen. Undo. Control C. Control V. Okay, so what am I saying? I'm trying to get Asher back up into the frame. Okay. Okay, we'll see how it works. Bodoink. I like it. I do like it. Quite a lot. Yeah, the expression. The motion, the attitude, everything feels pretty good. What do we have? Basically, we've got, I would say this could be better in the sense that we could exaggerate it even more. By squinching it down. I could be wrong. Okay. Okay, so this needs a transitional bit right here. I'm going to turn the skins on. And all I'm doing is trying to get him from here to here. I'm way going over the top on the squash and stretch, by the way. Far more than I normally do. Just because I just want to see how it works. I want to be a little bold with it and see if it just feels good. Okay, right there it feels like the volume of his head is a little too high. Alright, I'm going to turn the sketch layer off and the skins just so all I can see is this. Just want to feel how it plays. Why is this back here? Sketch layer. I'm looking at Asher right now. Okay, that feels pretty good. Bloink, bloink. And now per what I said earlier, let's see what this feels like if we kick it up to 10 frames per second. Just assuming that when I edit it, I'll probably speed it up a bit. That feels really good. Get moving, traitor. Get it moving, traitor. And to be frank, even though my name isn't Frank, what I may wind up doing, and this is where Blender becomes a bit of a win, is I'm thinking that probably this whole thing, this whole bit, should be not quite so close. And we can solve that by just moving the camera out a little bit. Just pull it out a bit. Feels a little too tight. Right. Okay, let's keep going. Boom, boom, and boom. Okay, I see. So we got the hands here. Okay. Draw mode. Let me just see what we have here. Okay, I'm going to just say, I want to change this pose a bit. And this is going to be foreshortened. It doesn't really matter how gorgeous it is because it's going to only be on the screen for 1 frame. As I said, you can get away with murder if things move fast. All we're trying to do is get from here to there. Okay. I have to say this is getting old. It's harming my accuracy kind of a lot, where I'm winding up with a lot of non-closed shapes. So I'm gonna kill that for the moment, and I'll turn it back on when it actually makes sense for it to be turned on. Okay. So what I wanted to do here was I wanted to feel like he is really pushing this guy. He's giving him a good whomp. Like that. That feels way better. Okay. So we'll assume that's going to go down here, and this mostly will be his hand that we see. But then here's Asher's garment. Stop. Wait a minute. Stop getting sloppy here. We'll come back to the other details on this guy's costuming later. Okay. So that's pretty much what that would do. So I'm going to keep exaggerating that. Okay. Oh man, I'm gonna work in reverse here. This, I don't know if this is gonna work, but I'm gonna try it anyway. Got a little glitch there. Again, this is only on the screen for 1 frame. So I'll just kind of keep it loose. Keep it loose. There. Okay, so now this is where I want to be careful, because this is where his hands, I believe, stop moving. Yep, blew that line. So I believe, yeah, like it moves a little bit, but basically that's it. So let me see if this motion's feeling pretty good. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna change this. I don't like this at all, and in fact, I just think it's understandable, but the wrong idea. The fact of the matter is, probably this guy's hand should fall out of frame. I don't even think his hand should be in the frame. It should be push and then just disappears. Okay. This, you can see his face. Boy, we might as well tween it. We might as well, since we're going from here to here anyway. Yep, I'm going to take the hand out of there completely. Push. So, for sanity purposes, perhaps we should go into the sketch layer, draw mode. And starting here, yes, I'm actually going to take a moment to just completely erase this. Just because it's a distraction. Total distraction. And it's blurring my concept of how the animation and storytelling is, working out. Unfortunately, I had a duplicate of it on every single frame, which is a little obnoxious, but whoop-de-doo. It probably turns out the world will keep turning, despite my little mistake. And yes, besides, it's a little therapeutic. When you're trying to be creative, it definitely can be helpful mentally every once in a while to just retreat from having to come up with creative solutions to problems and just deal with the mundane grunt work for a bit and let your brain shut off. Give yourself sort of a mental break. Mental break, I say. Okay. Rewind. Move it. Move it, traitor. Is that what he says? No, that's not what he says. Get it moving is what he says. Okay. He says, get it moving, traitor. Yeah, I like it. I'll feel good about it, friends. Well, it's been 2 hours of live streaming, so if anybody has any questions, basically you've got 1 minute to ask them. And by golly, it looks like we've got quite a few concurrent viewers. Nobody's really chatting today. Kind of weird. But yeah, I like it. I like the squash and stretch. I like the attitude on Mr. Lekbar, even though he's a bit of a very not cool dude. Now, in the interest of completeness, it probably wouldn't be the worst idea to have some indication of his hand. I don't know. I mean, it does make sense that it would be in there. I'm going to just put in this really simple cartoony hand, and then I'm going to select these lines. Control V, rotate, go, gone. I'm hoping that works. I think it will. We'll see. Yeah, perfect. Just enough there. Honestly, this probably could be even more like that. I just want it to fall out of the screen. We're seeing it more than we would in real life because of the being in edit mode. The orange dots kind of stand out, right? Cool. Okay, so that's it. I'm ready for a break, so I'm ready for a break, friends. But yeah, this is going to be a nice shot. File, save. Well, as you guys know, there will be more later. So we've had a good session today where we have covered a little bit of the well, okay, so that's actually episode 2 that I was looking at. I guess I closed Reaper, worked a little bit on the score, and worked on a scene. So the score for episode 3, meanwhile working on this shot from episode 4. So, as you guys know, there will be more later, and given that there are no other questions or comments, I'm going to end the stream in 3, 2,